Have you ever noticed that the most dangerous person in your life is actually yourself? You might be thinking, now, what kind of way is that to start an uplifting message? But stay with me for a moment, because what I'm about to share will transform your mornings, your days, and ultimately your entire life. I met Sarah, a successful business owner, at one of our events last year. She pulled me aside and said something that stopped me in my tracks. You know, she said with tears welling up in her eyes, I spent 20 years telling myself I wasn't good enough because I thought it kept me humble. I believe putting myself down was somehow pleasing to God. Isn't it amazing how we can be our own worst enemy? But here's the thing, God never intended for you to be your own opposition. When He created you, He didn't say, let me make someone who's going to wake up every morning and tear themselves down. He said, let us make mankind in our image. You know what I've discovered? The words you speak to yourself in the first 5 minutes of your morning have more power than the next 5 hours of conversations you'll have with others. Think about that for a moment. Those first few precious minutes, when your eyes open, that's your spirit's most receptive time. That's when you're programming your day. Some of you are starting your mornings looking in the mirror, focusing on what you don't like. Others are waking up rehearsing your worries, your problems, your setbacks. Can I tell you something? That's not living. That's existing. And you were created for so much more. Remember David in the Bible. Before he ever faced Goliath, before he became king, he encouraged himself in the Lord. He didn't wait for someone else to build him up. He understood this principle I'm sharing with you today, that your inner dialogue shapes your outer reality. I remember a time in my own life when I was at a crossroads. Every morning, I would wake up feeling overwhelmed by challenges, by responsibilities, by expectations. My first thoughts were always about what could go wrong. But then something extraordinary happened. I discovered the power of intentional morning declarations, and it revolutionized my life. Now, some of you might be thinking, that sounds a bit self-centered. But let me ask you this. If you had a garden, would you plant weeds? Would you deliberately sow thorns? Of course not. You'd plant flowers, vegetables, things that bring life and nourishment. Yet every morning, many of us are planting negative thoughts in the garden of our minds. And then we wonder why we're not seeing the harvest we desire. You see, God has already equipped you with everything you need for victory. But just like a phone needs to be charged to operate at its full potential, your spirit needs to be charged with the right words, the right thoughts, the right declarations. What would happen if you started treating your morning thoughts like investment in your future? What if instead of beginning your day with worry, you began it with wonder? Instead of starting with doubt, I'm reminded of the woman in Scripture who touched the hem of Jesus' garment. For 12 years, she had been telling herself, I'm sick, I'm unclean, I'm unworthy. But one day she changed her inner dialogue. She started saying, if I can just touch His garment, I will be healed. Her words changed her actions, and her actions changed her destiny. Today, I want to share with you 5 powerful declarations that will revolutionize your mornings. These aren't just positive affirmations. These are biblical truths that will align your spirit with God's promises for your life. These declarations have transformed thousands of lives, and I believe they're going to You see, transformation doesn't always come in dramatic moments. Sometimes it comes in the quiet moments of the morning, when you're alone with your thoughts, when you're setting the tone for your day. That's why these 5 declarations are so crucial. They're like spiritual anchors that keep you steady when life storms come. I think about Joseph in the Bible. When he was in that pit, when he was in that prison, he didn't let his circumstances dictate his self-talk. He held on to the dreams God had given him. He kept declaring his destiny even when his reality didn't match up. And look what happened. He went from the pit to the palace. Some of you are in your pit moment right now. Maybe you've been speaking defeat over your life. Maybe you've been rehearsing your failures instead of rehearsing your faith. But today marks a new beginning. Today, we're going to learn these 5 powerful declarations that will begin to shift everything in your life. And before I share these declarations with you, I want you to understand something crucial. This isn't about denying reality. It's about declaring God's truth over your reality. It's about speaking life when death is trying. It's about standing on promises when problems are staring you in the face. You know, it's interesting. Science is now confirming what Scripture has been teaching for thousands of years. They call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new pathways based on our thoughts and words. When you begin your day with powerful, positive declarations, you're literally rewiring your brain for success. Are you ready to discover these 5 life-changing declarations? Are you ready to revolutionize your mornings and by extension your entire life? Because what I'm about to share isn't just going to change how you start your day, but it's going to change how you live your day, how you face your challenges, and how you fulfill your God-given destiny. The first declaration we're going to discuss is so powerful that it alone has the potential to shift your entire perspective. But before we dive into that, I want you to do something for me right now. I want you to take your hand and place it over your heart. Feel that heart bat. That's not just a sign that you're alive. That's a sign that God's not finished with you yet. That's a sign that you have purpose, that you have destiny, that you have greatness within you waiting to be unleashed. And it all begins with what you say to yourself in those crucial first moments of the morning. The first declaration I want you to write on your heart today is, I am designed for greatness. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're sitting there saying, but you don't know my circumstances, you don't know my failures, you don't know my past. And you're right. I don't. But I know the one who designed you, and he doesn't make mistakes. Think about this. Before a product is ever released, it goes through countless hours of design, testing, and refinement. The manufacturer knows exactly what that product is capable of. How much more does your Creator know about your capabilities? When God formed you, He didn't just throw something together. He designed you with precision, with purpose, with greatness in mind. You know, I met a young man recently who had been told his whole life that he was a mistake. His own father had called him an accident. For 30 years, he woke up every morning, looked in the mirror, and repeated those words to himself: I'm a mistake. I'm an accident. I'm not supposed to be here. But then one day he read Psalm 139, where David wrote, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Something broke in his spirit that day. He realized that before his parents ever thought about him, before any mistake was made, God had already designed him for greatness. That's why this first morning declaration is so crucial. When you wake up and declare, I am designed for greatness, you're not being arrogant. You're agreeing with your designer. You're aligning your thoughts with heaven's thoughts about you. You're positioning yourself for the destiny God has prepared for you. Let me tell you something powerful. Every morning when you make this declaration, you're activating your spiritual DNA. Just like physical DNA carries genetic information, your spiritual DNA carries the codes of greatness that God placed within you. But here's the key. You have to speak it out. You have to declare it. Faith comes by hearing. And sometimes you need to hear yourself speaking God's truth over your life. I remember reading about how Thomas Edison's teachers told him he was too stupid to learn anything. Can you imagine if he had internalized those words? If he had woken up every morning agreeing with those limitations? Instead, he chose to believe in the greatness within him. He went on to hold over 1,000 patents and change the world as we know it. You see, greatness isn't about being famous. It's not about having your name in lights. Greatness is about fulfilling the purpose for which you were created. It's about maximizing your God-given potential. When you declare, I'm designed for greatness each morning, you're reminding yourself that mediocrity is not your portion, that settling is not your destiny, that average is not your assignment. This leads us to our second powerful morning. Declare, my past does not define my future. Write that down. Let it sink deep into your spirit, because some of you have been letting your yesterday determine your tomorrow. You've been living in the shadow of past mistakes. past failures, past disappointments. But can I tell you something? God never consulted your past to determine your future. When He laid out His plans for your life, He didn't look at your mistakes. He looked at His mercy. He didn't look at your failures. He looked at His faithfulness. That's why this second declaration is so vital to speak every morning. I think about the story of Peter in the Bible. Here was a man who denied Jesus 3 times. By all accounts, that should have been the end of his story. That kind of failure should have disqualified him from ministry forever. But Jesus didn't see Peter through the lens of his past. He saw him through the lens of his potential. And on the day of Pentecost, that same Peter who denied Christ stood up and preached, and 3,000 souls were saved. Your past is not a prison. It's a passage. It's not your destination. It's part of your preparation. Every morning when you declare, my past does not define my future, you're serving notice to every failure, every disappointment, every setback that they don't get to have the final say in your story. Scientists have discovered something fascinating about the brain. It's constantly forming new neural pathways. Every time you choose to believe something new about yourself, every time you make these declarations, you're literally creating new pathways in your brain. You're rewiring your mind for success, for victory, for greatness. I think about Joseph in the pit, in the prison. His past could have defined him. Being sold into slavery by his own brothers, that could have been the end of his story. Being falsely accused and imprisoned, that could have written his final. But Joseph understood this principle. Every morning in that prison cell, he had to declare that his past would not define his future. And look what happened. He went from the prison to the palace in one day. Some of you need to hear this. You're one declaration away from your breakthrough. You're one morning away from your miracle. But you have to stop agreeing with your past and start agreeing with God's promises. Stop replaying old tapes of failure and start declaring new testimonies of victory. You know what's powerful about making these 2 declarations? Every morning, they work together. When you declare, I am designed for greatness and my past does not define my future, you're creating a spiritual force field around your mind. You're building a barrier against doubt, against fear, against limitation. Think about David facing Goliath. Before he ever picked up that stone, he had to declare his victory. He had to speak his triumph before he saw it. His past as a shepherd boy didn't define his future as a giant slayer. He was designed for greatness, and he knew it. That's why he could face a 9-foot giant with 5 smooth stones and an unwavering faith. Every morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can partner with your past, or you can partner with your purpose. You can agree with your failures, or you can agree with your future. These declarations are your way of choosing purpose over past, destiny over defeat, victory over victimhood. And let me tell you something. When you start making these declarations consistently, something supernatural begins to happen. Your circumstances might not change immediately, but your perspective will. Your situation might remain the same, but your spirit will begin to soar because you're no longer letting your past write your story. You're letting your Creator write it. As we prepare to move into our next declarations, I want you to understand something crucial. These aren't just words we speak into the air. These are seeds we're planting in the soil of our spirit. And just like any seed, they need daily watering, daily attention, daily declaration to grow into the mighty oaks they're destined to become. Those seeds of greatness we've been talking about, they need something special to help them flourish. That's where our third powerful morning declaration comes in. Favor surrounds me like a shield. Now, this isn't just positive thinking. This is biblical thinking. The psalmist wrote, Lord will bless the righteous. With favor, you will surround them as with a shield. You see, favor isn't just getting a good parking spot or a surprise discount at your favorite store. Favor is God's supernatural advantage operating in life. It's when doors open that you couldn't open. It's when the right people come across your path at just the right time. It's when you're chosen despite not being the most qualified. I remember meeting a woman who had been passed over for promotions for 15 years. Every morning, she would go to work expecting more of the same. More disappointment, more rejection, more staying stuck. But then she started declaring favor over her life every morning. Not once a week, not when she felt like it, every single morning. 3 months later, she was promoted 2 levels above her current position. The interviewer told her, "There's just something different about you. We can't quite put our finger on it." That's favor. And here's the beautiful thing. Favor isn't earned, it's received. When you wake up every morning declaring that favor surrounds you like a shield, you're positioning yourself to receive what God has already prepared for you. To think about Esther in the Bible. She wasn't the most qualified to be queen. She wasn't from the right family or the right background, but favor surrounded her like a shield. That favor didn't just elevate her. It positioned her to save an entire nation. Some of you are just one declaration of favor away from stepping into your destiny-changing moment. But you have to declare it. You have to expect it. You have to walk in it. Every morning when you wake up, before your feet hit the floor, declare favor surrounds me like a shield. When you're driving to work, declare it. When you're heading into that meeting, declare it. When you're facing that challenge, declare it. This leads us perfectly into our 4th morning declarer. Attract abundance and opportunities. Now, some religious folks might get nervous when we talk about abundance. But let me ask you something. When you plant an apple seed, does it produce just one apple? No. It produces a tree that bears hundreds of apples, each containing seeds for more trees. That's God's system of abundance. You were never created for barely enough. You weren't designed for just getting by. The same God who created the universe with its billions of galaxies, who designed oceans teeming with life, who painted the world with endless varieties of flowers, that same God wants you to experience abundance in every area of your life. I met a young entrepreneur who was struggling to keep his business afloat. Every morning, he would wake up checking his phone, worried about bills, stressed about payroll. His first thoughts were always about lack, about scarcity, about not enough. Then he started making this declaration every morning. I attract abundance and opportunities. At first, it felt fake. It felt like he was denying his reality, but he kept at it. 6 months later, his business had tripled. New clients were coming out of nowhere. Opportunities were falling into his lap. He told me, it's like the universe suddenly started conspiring in my favor. But it wasn't the universe. It was his declaration of abundance aligning with God's promises of provision. You see, abundance isn't just about money. It's about having more than enough in every area of your life, more than enough joy, more than enough peace, more than enough wisdom, more than enough opportunities. When you declare, I attract abundance and opportunity, you're tuning your spirit to heaven's frequency of provision. Think about Solomon. When God asked him what he wanted, he asked for wisdom. But because he aligned himself with God's heart, God gave him abundance in every area: wisdom, wealth, honor, peace. Some of you have been asking for the wrong things. You've been declaring the wrong things. You've been speaking lack when you should be speaking abundance. These 2 declarations, favor and abundance, they work hand in hand. Favor opens the door and abundance fills the room. Favor makes the connection and abundance maximizes the opportunity. Favor positions you and abundance propels you. But here's something crucial you need to understand. These declarations aren't magic words. They're seeds that need to be planted in the soil of expectancy and watered with consistency. You can't declare favor one morning and scarcity the next. You can't speak abundance on Monday and lack on Tuesday. These declarations need to become as natural as breathing. I think about the Roman centurion who came to Jesus. He understood authority. He understood that words carry power. He said to Jesus, just say the word, and my servant will be healed. He recognized that words released with authority could change circumstances. That's what you're doing every morning with these declarations. You're releasing words with authority over your life. Some of you might be thinking, but what if nothing changes right away? Remember, every harvest has a season of preparation. Between planting and reaping, there's a process, but keep declaring favor over your life. Keep speaking abundance over your circumstances. Keep releasing these words of faith into your atmosphere. You know what's beautiful about these declarations? They're not just changing your circumstances. They're changing you. They're shifting your perspective from scarcity to abundance, from limitation to possibility, from surviving to thriving. When you declare favor surrounds you like a shield, you start noticing opportunities you might have missed before. When you declare you attract abundance, you start seeing possibilities where you once saw problems. And here's something powerful. These declarations don't just affect you. They create an atmosphere around you that others can step into. When you're walking in favor and abundance, people around you get lifted up too. Your declaration becomes their elevation. Your faith becomes their catalyst. As we prepare to move into our final declaration, I want you to understand something vital. Everything we've declared so far, greatness, freedom from the past, favor, and abundance. And this brings us to our fifth and final declaration, one that ties everything together in a beautiful way. I'm a blessing to others. You see, all the favor, all the abundance, all the greatness we've been declaring, it's not just for us. We're blessed to be a blessing. We're elevated to lift others. We're enriched to be a river, not a reservoir. When you wake up every morning declaring, I am a blessing to others, something supernatural begins to happen. Your focus shifts from what you can get to what you can give. Your perspective changes from how you can be served to how you can serve. And here's the miracle. When you live with this mindset, everything else we've declared multiplies. I think about a businessman I met in Detroit. He had it all, the corner office, the luxury car, the impressive bank account. But every morning he felt empty. Success had become his prison. Then one day he started declaring, I am a blessing to others every morning. He began looking for ways to invest in people, not just portfolios. He started mentoring young entrepreneurs from underprivileged backgrounds. Today his business has grown beyond his wildest dreams. But more importantly, he's watching his impact multiply through the lives of others. You see, being a blessing isn't just about giving money. Sometimes it's a word of encouragement to someone who's ready to give up. Sometimes it's sharing your experience with someone who's walking through what you've already conquered. Sometimes it's simply being present when everyone else has walked away. Remember the story of Joseph. His declaration of being a blessing saved not just Egypt, but his own family, the very people who had betrayed him. When you declare, I am a blessing to others, you position yourself to be part of God's solution for someone else's problem. You become an answer to someone's prayer. Now let's bring all these declarations together. Every morning, you're going to wake up. I'm designed for greatness. My past does not define my future. Favor surrounds me like a shield. I attract abundance and opportunities. I'm a blessing to others. These aren't just words. They're keys that unlock your potential. They're seeds that grow into forests of fulfillment. They're declarations that become demonstrations of God's power in your life. Think about this. Every great movement in history started with a declaration. Every significant breakthrough began with someone daring to speak what they believed. Your morning declarations are your personal revolution, your daily revolution, your moment-by-moment revolution. Some of you have been waiting for someone to give you permission to be great. You've been waiting for someone to validate your dreams, to approve your ambitions, to endorse your potential. But the only permission you need is the permission you give yourself every morning through these declarations. Others of you have been living in reaction mode, reacting to circumstances, reacting to criticism, reacting to setbacks. But these declarations put you in creation mode. You're no longer just responding to what life throws at you. You're creating the life you're called to live. You know what's powerful? When you make these declarations, you're not just speaking to yourself. You're speaking to every atom in your body, every circumstance in your life, every obstacle in your path. You're speaking to your future, calling it into your present. You're speaking to your potential, awakening it from its slumber. But starting tomorrow morning, I want you to do something different. When you open your eyes, before you reach for your phone, before you check your emails, before you turn on the news, I want you to make these declarations. I'll speak them out loud. Let your ears hear what your mouth is saying. Let your spirit absorb what your faith is declaring. And don't just make these declarations in the morning and forget about them. Carry them with you throughout your day. I'm designed for greatness. When your past tries to haunt you, declare, my past does not define my future. When doors seem closed, remember, surrounds me like a shield. When resources seem scarce, declare, I attract abundance and opportunities. And when you're tempted to focus only on yourself, remind yourself, I am a blessing to others. You're not just changing your morning routine. You're changing your life's direction. You're not just speaking words. You're shaping your world. You're not just making declarations. You're making history. Your history. Remember, everything great in your life will start with a declaration. Your words today are creating your reality tomorrow. These 5 declarations are your tools for transformation, your weapons against worry, your blueprint for breakthrough. So stand up right now. Put your hand on your heart to feel that heartbeat. That's God's rhythm of possibility pulsing through your life. That's the beat of potential, the rhythm of purpose, the pulse of destiny. Every heartbeat is God saying, another chance, another opportunity, another moment to declare your destiny. Your time of merely existing is over. Your season of just getting by is finished. Your days of living beneath your privileges are done. Starting tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up, make these declarations, and watch as God turns your declarations into demonstrations, your words into wonders, and your faith into fulfillment. The question isn't whether God can do it. The question is, will you declare it? Will you speak it? Will you believe it? Your destiny is waiting for your declaration. Your future is listening for your faith. Your breakthrough is pending on your bold proclamation of these truths. Go forth and declare. Go forth and receive. Go forth and become everything God designed you to be. Your morning declarations are about to become your evening testimonies. Your spoken words are about to become your living reality. The best part of your story isn't what's behind you, it's what's about to unfold before you. Now rise up, speak up, and watch as these 5 morning declarations revolutionize your life. One day at a time, one word at a time, one declaration at a time. Your new life awaits, your new story begins. Your new reality dawns with every morning declaration,